6 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
He's Hacker.
I like a good serial killer documentary. He hasn't taken the pounding that wide receivers take.
It's just a pound job, and guys are tired towards that 4 minutes.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
I would be lying to you if I said I had not heard things. They're like a bad rash. You hear a lot of things. Some are true, some aren't.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. Opening day in Major League Baseball certainly brings back memories for me of back when I was a young little kid watching Harry Carey on WGN with my grandfather. We called him Pops back down in Lake Wales, Florida, where I would spend a lot of spring breaks. So had some thoughts about him today. I'm sure a lot of people have thoughts about, grandparents, people of that sort when you watch baseball when you were a youngster. And opening day today, I know a special day for a lot of sports fans. Me, not so much. I've kind of fallen out of love with baseball. I used to be all in, man. I used to be a diehard. Now I would call myself casual at best. We'll go down memory lane a little bit with some opening day thoughts coming up in just a moment. We got a Sweet 16 that starts getting decided in about an hour plus, as 4 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow. You got a rematch of the national championship game from last year. You got UConn and San Diego State. Gator fans, you got a vested interest in that. No one has repeated as a national champion in college basketball since Florida in 06 and 07. I know you wear that as a badge of honor. UConn is 4 wins away from doing just that. So I'm sure Gator Nation will be pulling for San Diego State this evening, Alabama, and North Carolina tonight as well. So Sweet 16 on the docket, as is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, we're never going to get too far away from the Jaguars and the National Football League. In fact, that's where we're going to start here in just a moment. Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. He will join us in less than 15 minutes to get his thoughts on everything that has transpired for the Jaguars this offseason, both arrivals and guys that have left. Also, Mark Wise of ESPN to break down the Sweet 16. That all comes up here in hour number 1. But as we do every night, to kick it off here on Hacker After Dark, an early edition. We're up early this week, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, as we do every night. We do lead you off with a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Oh, big news today from the Jaguars. Josiah DeGuara, tight end, H-back from the Green Bay Packers, signs a 1-year deal here in Jacksonville. And no, I'm not going to give you my thoughts and perspective necessarily on Josiah DeGuara. By the way, a 3rd-round pick in the 2020 draft of Green Bay. Did have 25 catches in 2021 for what that's worth. But no, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the number 10. It's an interesting number. That's the number of additions the Jaguars have made, either in free agency or via trade, in the last 3 weeks. 10. Now, assuming each of those guys makes the roster, and I think it's a safe bet that 80 to 90% of them are absolute locks, you're talking about 1/5 of the 53-man roster, basically, that has been added in the last 3 weeks. I mean, think about it. Quarterback Mac Jones via the trade with New England. Obviously, the big names of Eric Armstead, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, Darnell Savage, Ronald Darby, right? Joey Sly at kicker, Devin Duvernay, Trevis Gibson, and today Josiah DeGuara. I mean, look, 10 guys that the Jaguars have added. We wanted turnover on this roster. We wanted change on this roster. What was the biggest complaint about last offseason? They didn't do anything. They ran it back. 9-8 in 2022. They decided to essentially run it back for the most part. They were 9-8 in 2023. Well, they are not running it back this year. They have added a lot of new players. And they've said goodbye to Rayshon Jenkins, to Darius Williams, to Foley Fatukasi, Calevon Chason, Calvin Ridley, right? Brandon McManus. A lot of guys have left. A lot of guys have come in. They did what I wanted them to do. My goal going into free agency was don't be stagnant. Absolutely do not run it back again. You need to bring in some fresh bodies, some fresh blood, if you will, to this roster. They've done that. Are they better now than they were 2.5 months ago when they left the field in Nashville? I think you could argue that. They're certainly better at some positions. Certainly better on the O-line. Certainly better on the interior defensive line. Are they better in the secondary? I don't know. Darnell Savage and Ronald Darby versus Rayshon Jenkins and Darius Williams. Is that a push? Are they better at return man, Devin Duvernay or Jamal Agnew? Are they better at backup quarterback, Mac Jones or C.J. Beathard? You could ask yourself all of those things. But the bottom line is, at least for me, they did what I wanted them to do. They went out and they brought in some people. They did not run it back. They brought in some guys that they believe can help them, guys they believe upgrade positions. They got stagnant last year. Some of that was salary cap related. I get it, but they still could have made some moves. They chose not to. They have been one of, if not the most active teams in free agency this year. How many other teams signed 9 free agents? That would be interesting to look up. I don't know if anybody's signed 9 other than the Jaguars. Now, people have maybe signed bigger names, right? But 9 unrestricted free agents that were not on Jacksonville's roster 3 weeks ago are here now. And that for that standpoint, to be able to go out and do something and bring in all those new people and hopefully upgrade this roster, for that I tip my cap to Trent Baalke because he did what I wanted him to do. We'll see what happens in the draft. But again, there you go. You've brought in 10 guys, including Mac Jones via trade, and we haven't even gotten to the draft yet. You're going to assume that you're going to keep those 5 picks in the first 4 rounds, right? Pick 17, pick 49, pick 96, pick 114, pick 116. You're not going to cut a first, second, third, or fourth round pick. Now, you get into round 5, round 6, round 7. We'll see. Practice squad potentially. But the first 4 rounds, you would expect those guys to all be on the 53-man roster. And if that's the case, then you're talking 15 new guys of the 53. You're getting into well over 25%. A quarter of the team will be brand new from the team that walked off the field in Nashville on January the 7th. We'll talk more about the Jaguars. We'll talk about some of their additions. And we'll catch up with Brian Sexton. I haven't talked to him in a while, right? Right since the season ended about 2.5 months ago. But we'll have Brian Sexton of Jaguars.com up with us here in less than 10 minutes. I mentioned opening day around Major League Baseball. For all those that celebrate, hope you're enjoying yourself. The 162-game gauntlet officially begins. You know, I go back to when I was really young. I mean really young. 7, 8, 9 years old. And every night, man, on TBS, every night, I would line up there in front of the TV and I would watch my guy Terry Pendleton and Jeff Blauser and Raphael Belliard and Ron Gant, right? Greg Olson behind the plate, David Justice, Otis Nixon. I loved the Atlanta Braves in the early 90s. You know, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, but I'll go out there, I'll talk about Steve Avery. I'll throw some Charlie Leibrandt and some Kent Merker at you. The original Mike Stanton. I love the Braves. And as I've gotten older, I kind of fell out of love with the game. I do remember being down in Lake Wales spring break and during the summer with my grandfather, who we called Pops. And we would watch WGN every afternoon at 2:20 with the great Harry Carey. And I would watch Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg and Mark Grace. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And for whatever reason, maybe the strike had something to do with it in 94. I don't know. But baseball just went to the wayside for me. I'm football all the time now, NFL and college. My third love is the NBA. Love the NBA. I took it on the chops last night from Golden State. How Draymond Green gets ejected 3 minutes in and the Magic still find a way to lose that game was maddening. But baseball has gone down the tier system for me. I'm not as big a fan as I try to be. Denmark, I remember last year, I tried, man. I tried following the Rays for 162, and I got to about training camp, right?
Late July.
Yeah, and then once training camp got here, it was over. Then it was all Jags, all NFL, all the time. I gave it a good effort last year. I gave it 4 months, and I'll try to give it a good effort again. But even though I'm not a diehard baseball fan, there is something special about opening day. Because, again, I think the first game that officially started today was at Camden Yards, the Angels and the Orioles. The first game stateside, right? The Dodgers and the Padres did that deal in South Korea, 2 weeks ago. But I'm at Baltimore on MLB Network watching the Orioles just bludgeon the Angels today. And I thought back to Pops, right? And I thought back to his love for baseball. He was a big Cincinnati Reds fan. And how he used to take me to Plant City when the Reds were here in spring training. We would watch Barry Larkin and those greats for the Reds. Or we would go over to Kissimmee and watch the Astros when they were there next to that big rodeo stadium in Kissimmee. And it was just a cool moment, cool reflection for me. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can kind of reflect back to your grandfather, your dad, your uncle, whomever that got you involved with the game. Maybe you're not as big a baseball person as you were, 25, 30, 35 years ago, like myself. But every year on opening day, I do reflect back to WGN with Harry Carey, to TBS with the Atlanta Braves in the early 90s, sitting there watching the games with Pops, and really loved the game as a child. I follow it now. I follow it enough to intelligently talk about it, and we will talk about it. Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic will come on in the 7 o'clock hour to kind of preview the year for us here on opening day. But again, even though I'm not the diehard that I once was, opening day is still a very cool moment, a very cool day on the sports calendar. And I hope even if you're not a baseball fan any longer, at least today you'll take time to reflect back on your childhood and think about, that person in your life that you watched the games with, like I did with my grandfather, 30, 35 years ago. 641-1010 on the phone line and on text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Your phone calls, your texts, always welcome here on Hacker After Dark. Back into the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've added a lot of guys, a lot of free agents. The roster looks considerably different than it did on January 7th when the season ended. Let's look back on the last couple of weeks. Things that have gone down, guys that are here, guys that left. Let's do that with Brian Sexton, my buddy from Jaguars.com. He's next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
I'm Paul Pozlesny, and you're listening to the best Jaguars coverage in Jacksonville on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Hacker here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Awaken 180 Weight Loss. That is the company, that is the program that is absolutely changing my life. 35 pounds down in just over a month. I started on February 20th. I weigh 35 pounds less now on March the 28th than I did just as recently as February 20th. Why? Thanks to the good folks at Awaken 180. I've done many weight loss programs over the years. They have not worked. Awaken 180, is the best program I have ever done. Best results. It is absolutely spectacular. If it's time for you, like it was for me, to drop some pounds, do yourself a favor. Call 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800. Or go online, awaken180weightloss.com. Do what I did and go talk with the good folks at Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Seminole Hard Rock Tampa is excited to bring you live craps, roulette, and sports betting. All under one roof, hotter than the Florida sun. Feel the luck of the dice, watch the roulette wheel spin, and scream for your touchdown as the big screen comes alive. Dine like a rock star, sip cocktails that shimmer, then dive into the heart of Las Vegas right here in Tampa Bay. Live craps, roulette, sports betting is here. Get in on the action now, only at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa, located off of I-4 near I-75. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-10-MINUTE.
Make your outdoor living perfect with Art of Natural Stone. Pavers, patios, gravel, pool decks, and more. Using all natural stone design, and they do the installation. Visit Art of Natural Stone on Route 1 near Bartram Springs or on Beach Boulevard.
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and I always tell you, hey, what's hot on the street, but what is hot on the water right now?
We've got some big news from Honda. They have a boat coming out, and much like they did with their jet, they went out and partnered with an industry leader in Scout Boats. He's making the hull for them, but everything else in the boat is all Honda.
So you're talking in the next handful of days and weeks, we will see Honda on the water at your showroom.
It'll be on the showroom, and it'll be ready to go.
So log on to cyclesofjacksonville.com. They are in the marine business with Honda. Keep track of it right there on Atlantic near Regency.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Mia O'Brien.
Don't I know you from somewhere?
On XL Primetime from noon to 3, on Helmets and Heels Tuesday nights.
I swear to you, I know her.
And you can follow me on the 1010XL video and social media channels.
I would know her voice anywhere.
All Things Mia is driven by Arlington Toyota.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. I know that hearing another ad for Jacksonville's best promo company interrupts Jacksonville's best sports talk, but at least it isn't a political ad. Check us out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner. With honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
Wondering what you're going to do for dinner tonight? Southern Steer Butcher is a full-service butcher that offers take-and-bake side options that are oven-ready.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
If you're heading to the Og or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
This is Hayes Carline for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. First Florida Credit Union was voted Best Bank in the 2023 Best of Bold City Community Choice Awards, and it's easy to see why. I go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the new Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
I-9 Sports wants to make sure kids all over the First Coast can enjoy growing up on a field or in a gym. And right now, summer and fall registration is open. So make sure you find out what I-9 Sports offers in your area across Duval, Clay, and St. John's. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, it's been an interesting couple of weeks here in Jacksonville. Some releases, some free agent departures, a franchise tag, and a bunch of new arrivals as now all eyes begin turning to the NFL draft. With that, let me welcome in my buddy Brian Sexton of Jaguars.com. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Brian, how we doing?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
Brian, it's good, man. It's been a while since you and I chatted, and a lot has transpired. Overall, we'll break down individual cases in a moment, but in totality, Brian, the last week and a half, how would you assess what the Jaguars have done with their roster?
Well, I tell you, I really liked Mitch Morse. I mean, I railed about the problems that they had in the middle of their offensive line last year, darn near the bottom of the league in their ability to convert third down and short and to run the ball consistently. Mitch Morse certainly helps that. This is a guy who Doug Peterson knows from his early days in Kansas City, and a guy who has gotten it done both in Kansas City and Buffalo. I think he makes them better. And then on the back end of it last week, when Eric Armstead agreed to terms, look, I can be honest, I don't know how they're fitting all this under the cap. With Josh Allen sitting there with a $24 million cap figure right now, it makes it challenging. But they somehow magically got it done, and that's a big guy. I mean, I remember when he came through on his prospect visit, right, as a guy who was in the draft process from Oregon 9 years ago. He's tall and he's long. I can just imagine you putting him down in a 5 technique with Trayvon Walker and the similar length that he's got in terms of wingspan in a wide 9 and trying to figure that game out. I mean, it's just, if I'm Ryan Nielsen, I'm thrilled with the addition of Eric Armstead and what it means that I can do up front with guys like Roy Robertson Harris and Josh Allen. I feel like, bookended in there are some interesting pieces. I mean, Darnell Savage is a guy who's had success in this league. They bring in the cornerback, Ronald Darby, who is a press man guy. He's 30, but you need somebody who can step in there and give you a year. And he looks like a guy who can do that. So, I mean, is it the sexiest free agent class? No. But this team's got a quarterback. And when you've got that, you don't need to worry about sexy, which the Jaguars for years had to worry about. Big names, guys that would sell tickets. Now it's about finding pieces. And I think they did that pretty well.
It was interesting last week. I think people were somewhat pleased with what happened, and then the Calvin Ridley situation happened, and that was compounded by the fact that he went to Tennessee, of all places, so people were down in the dumps. But I think Eric Armstead kind of boosted people's morale back up on Thursday. You alluded to how important that signing is. I just think from a fan base perspective, which is who we're talking to here, I think bringing Armstead in probably salvages what the Jaguars did in free agency after what happened with Ridley.
Well, what's interesting is that when Trent Baalke, the much maligned general manager, and I think oftentimes unfairly so, and I think you and I have had that conversation, but when you listen back to his news conference from January, he didn't talk about getting faster down the field. He didn't talk about getting more dependable hands. He talked about getting more physical in the trenches. And anybody who's listening to this, who watched this team last year, knows that when it came time to be physical and they needed it, they struggled to be the more physical team on the field. Well, Mitch Morse and Eric Armstead certainly gives you that. I like Gabe Davis. I think he's a nice receiver. Does he have the explosiveness of Calvin Ridley? No. But you know what? Look, Calvin Ridley was in a contract year, and he struggled to be in the right place at the right time too often last year. And anybody who's listening knows that. Gabe Davis is a guy who will be there. Will he be as far down the field? Probably not. Will he run away from people like Calvin could? No, probably not. But he'll be a dependable guy. He's a big-bodied guy now, and he can go up and make plays, and you can go draft receivers. Ryan, but one thing we know, the draft is now littered with receivers because as the NFL has become a passing league, so is college football. Will they come in immediately like Ridley did? No, maybe not. But draft and develop is what you do, especially when you have a quarterback.
Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Brian, let's spend about a minute or two on each guy. You mentioned Mitch Morse. I completely agree with you. That is an upgrade. And when I look at that offensive line now, if it is Cam Robinson, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, Brandon Sheriff, Anton Harrison, I'm intrigued. I think Ezra Cleveland was fine when he was brought in here for the last 8 games. Cam Robinson last year, Brian, I thought he played well. I thought Anton Harrison played well for the most part. Brandon Sheriff is certainly not the guy he was 4 or 5 years ago, but maybe in off season he gets a little healthier. He has one more final run. And what's really intriguing to me as well, all of a sudden you look on that bench now, Luke Fortner, Walker Little, Blake Hance. I mean, they got a lot of dudes over there that have played a lot that are now going to be coming off the bench.
Well, here's how I looked at it. Immediately, my trouble spot became Brandon Sheriff, right? A guy who last year gutted it out with a bad ankle all season long. He injured it in the first half in Indianapolis and just kept playing on it last year. Tough guy. Guy's been to 5 Pro Bowls and named All Pro. If you're looking at him and saying, you're the spot we've got to worry about, then you're okay, right? Because you know that he's a solid pro who, if he's healthy, will be better in 2024 than he was in 2023. I think Ezra Cleveland is a guy with a lot of upside. And Anton Harrison was their best offensive lineman last year. I don't know whether people know that, because it's not as easy to be able to watch a right tackle and see how well he's playing as compared to a quarterback, a receiver, a cornerback. But he really played well and is their future, maybe their future left tackle. Because remember, after this year, he's the only offensive tackle they have under contract, because Cam Robinson's deal is up and Walker Little's rookie deal is up. So Harrison is a key component. I still, this is me at 17, in a draft that's filled in the first round with really good offensive tackles, I'm still leaning offensive tackle.
It's interesting you say that, and we'll get to the cornerback in a moment, because that's a lot of people's thought right now. I like that thought, though, of offensive tackle still in round 1. Brings me to Gabe Davis. He's coming down with Mitch Morse from Buffalo. Brian, 25 years old next month. I mean, how many times can you sign at the time a 24-year-old wide receiver with 27 career touchdown grabs? And I'm curious, you know, he was behind Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, obviously, much like Christian Kirk was behind DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. I wonder if that 48-catch max season, if he might surpass that and then some here in 2024.
Yeah, I think here's where you go back to. Go back to 2022, right? And look at the receivers with Marvin Jones and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I think that what you have is a chance to go back to that. And let's not forget Evan Ingram, right? To go back to as productive as they were in 2022. And I'm not going to try to compare Gabe Davis to Calvin Ridley, because I don't think it's fair. They're not the same type of guy. They're not built the same. They don't play the same. However, Marvin Jones, well, that's more accurate to me, because Marvin wasn't a speed guy. He was a guy who could make tough catches in traffic and get down the field well enough. And I think you can look and see a guy that can be that productive for you. 48 catches, yeah, I think he's got more. What was it? Jaguars had 3 guys who with more than 70 catches in 2022. I think you can look back and see the opportunity for that to happen again. And I think Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram are those guys that can give you 70 catches.
Brian, in your opinion, now late round picks aside, in your opinion, top 2 rounds, trade, another free agent, are they going to do more at wide receiver? And what do you think the future is right now, at least, for Zay Jones?
Well, I think Zay's here. I think he's one of those guys that's very dependable and that the quarterback relies on. We saw how the offense worked when he was in it and when he wasn't, when he was healthy and when he wasn't. I know there's a mania for receivers out there because the game is played down the field, but you can find those guys. We just got done saying college football is filled with receivers, more receivers than ever, because everybody plays that passing offense now. So I wouldn't go receiver unless I had a chance at Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome Odunze or the big kid. Is it Brian Thomas at LSU? Okay, maybe, right? But other than that, no chance. I'm going big guy, first and second round, because on this planet, there are only so many big guys that can move. Now, if there's not a big guy in the second round, well, then corner, right? Because guys with the ability to move their feet and flip their hips and turn and run and track the ball, those guys are tough to find too. So if there's one of those, I'm going after that. But my first 2 priorities are offensive line and cornerback. Receiver I can find.
Couple of more. Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Speaking of receivers, an honorable mention to Devin Duvernay, all-pro returner, Pro Bowl returner. And, Brian, talking to the folks in Baltimore, he certainly looks like he's a more accomplished wide receiver option than Jamal Agnew. People forget Agnew was a DB for a large portion of his time in Detroit. He made the transition to wide receiver. Look, I'm not saying Duvernay is going to make the Pro Bowl at a wide receiver, but there was a time in 2022 for a couple of weeks where he was literally wide receiver 1 in Baltimore due to injuries. So I think people might be losing sight of the fact Jacksonville may already have that 4th or 5th option at wide receiver in Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, maybe they do, Ryan. Maybe they do. The Jaguars are hoping he comes in, replaces their Pro Bowl return man with his own skill set, which, as you mentioned, he's been to the Pro Bowl. If he is an option at receiver, I love Jamal, and he did some good things. But, he put the ball on the ground a few times at the end of 2022 and in 2023 and made me go, let's put him back and let him be the return man. I'll tell you a guy that I think is going to be an option, and I think that's Travis Etienne. We heard at the Combine that Doug Pearson was talking about getting Tank Bigsby more involved in the ground game. And with his ability to pick up on pass protection in his second year, provided he does that, you see Etienne used as that offensive weapon. We used to talk about Denard Robinson being. Etienne would legitimately be that guy. You could line him up wide. You could put him in the slot. You could put him in the wing. You could put him out of the backfield. I really think that Jamal Agnew's touches could be replaced by Travis Etienne with Tank Bigsby on the field, and you'd see that dynamic big playmaker that we all have seen over the last couple of years.
Brian, to Eric Armstead, it wasn't long ago here in Jacksonville that they brought in a 9-year vet from the NFC West that came in here and is one of the best free agent signings they've ever made, became the mayor of Saxonville in Calais Campbell. Now, look, that would be very, very ambitious to say Eric Armstead would have any kind of success like that. Plus, Armstead has started to have some injury problems. But the parallels, the team captain, the vet, the 30-year-old presence over the young guys, Armstead, the effect he may have on a Trayvon Walker, there are certainly some similarities, at least, between when Campbell came in 2017 and now Armstead here in 2024.
He is a really good player and a really good person. You'd have to go look it up. I don't know that they even keep records on this. But the last 4 years, the Niners have named him their Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year for his work in the community. That does sound an awful lot like Calais Campbell. Same sort of size profile, plays more interior, right? He's more of a 3-5 technique tackle, whereas you could move Calais outside to the end. But a disruptive player who had 10 sacks a few years ago, 2019, I believe. Listen, the name Trent Baalke, as we talked earlier, it gets a negative connotation from so many people, but he's had great success with free agents in recent years. Evan Engram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, just to name a couple of guys that have come in here and been productive players on his watch. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could get his own version of Calais Campbell, because Calais obviously was signed by Tom Coughlin and Dave Caldwell, in Eric Armstead. And he's younger than Calais was at that point. So he's got the opportunity to come in and be a key player. He's got a 3-year deal. He's lined up with 2 guys on the outside. People this year, they wanted to criticize Trayvon early on because he wasn't getting the sacks, but there was no one pushing the pocket, Ryan. No quarterback had to step outside. Look, when you have Josh Allen on the other side, there should be a lot of sacks for the defensive end coming off the opposite side. But there weren't as many because Devon Hamilton was not healthy. Foley Fatukasi did not come through like they hoped he would. And Roy Robertson Harris didn't get the push up the middle of the pocket. He was more of an edge guy also. Now, if you've got Eric Armstead pushing the quarterback back, which way are you going to go? You going to fade to your left where Josh Allen's waiting? Probably not. So I think what you'll see with Eric Armstead is an increase in big plays from Trayvon Walker.
Final moments, Brian Sexton of Jaguars.com. That gets me to the rest of the free agents, Brian. When you throw in the trade, let's lump Mac Jones in with Darnell Savage, with Ronald Darby, the guys they brought in today, Joey Sly, the kicker, Travis Gibson, defensive end / outside linebacker. Is that a push in your opinion? I mean, I imagine Savage the replacement for Jenkins. Darby looks like the replacement for Darius Williams. Sly for McManus. I guess Gibson maybe is the new Caleb on Chason, only better. And then Mac Jones and C.J. Beathard. Is that a push, or do you think Jacksonville improved in any of those areas?
It would be hard to say if they've improved. So push is probably the term that I would lean towards, except when you look at, Ronald Darby and Darnell Savage and Gibson, I presume, are guys that do what Ryan Nielsen is looking for. So what they're really doing is bringing in guys that fit the new defensive scheme. And with Mac Jones, I don't think you can lose. He's young. He's obviously been a very productive quarterback at the college level, had a good season, one really good season in New England, is super, super smart. He's home. He's motivated. To me, that was an absolute win to get a guy like that to come in and have a quarterback that he can whisper to a little bit. That's important. I really like it. So I'm not going to jump up and down and say, yeah, they won. But I think that they filled some holes with players that fit Ryan Nielsen's scheme. And in Mac Jones, they get a guy who could be lightning in a bottle.
Brian, final question. When they walked off the field in Nashville, was it 71 days ago now? I mean, look, there was devastation.
Yeah,
in
but
the
who's
city.
counting, right?
Who's counting? Exactly. I mean, devastation, heartbreak, whatever you want to call it. Then the Ryan Nielsen hire happened, and they've added all these guys. Are they better? Are they better now than they were 71 days ago?
Man, they've been working at it. If they hadn't made the change on the coaching staff, it would be really hard to say that they had gotten better. If they hadn't brought Mitch Morse in and done something with the offensive line, it would be tough to say that they hadn't gotten better. We won't know until they start playing this fall if they've gotten better. But they certainly put the work in and brought in players and coaches that can help them get to that point. They didn't stand pat, right? They didn't say, hey, you know what? We're better than this. We'll play better next year. They kind of did a little of that last year. They didn't have the cap room last year to bring guys in, but they ran it all back. They brought 22 starters back. This year, they're not doing that. They didn't bring the same coaching staff back. They crafted a plan. They executed on the plan, both with the coaching staff and in free agency, and there's still part of that plan that's left to be executed on, and that's the draft. Let's have this conversation in training camp, Ryan, and maybe we'll see it. Certainly, midway next season, I think we'll be able to say, yeah, those moves paid off, or yeah, they didn't get the job done.
Jaguars.com throwing out a ton of content during the offseason. You guys have done a great job with free agency. I imagine all eyes now onto the draft. What can people look forward to, Brian, in the coming weeks?
Well, first of all, the latest episode of The Hunt was out, and those guys have nothing to do with that, by the way. They do an amazing job at getting behind the scenes. They've built strong relationships, and in doing so, they get great access, and they tell a great story. It's probably the best thing that we do. We just keep plugging forward, trying to have interesting conversations about where this team can get better and how they can get the job done. I'm headed to Detroit for the draft, and we'll have wall-to-wall coverage. I know 1010's a big part of that. So we'll get a lot to talk about. I expect you'll be calling me more often than the last 71 days.
There's no question about that. Brian Sexton, he's one of our guys here on Hacker After Dark, and we always appreciate him joining us here on 1010XL. Brian, thank you as always, brother. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, Ryan. Take care of yourself.
There you go, Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. It was interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier. The video came out. Eric Armstead, the Jaguar new interior defensive lineman, was on a podcast, and he basically called out the 49ers a little bit. Now, look, he said he had all the admiration in the world for John Lynch and for Kyle Shanahan, and he loved his time out in San Francisco. But in the same, 2-minute, 30-second video that I saw, he said, look, I know they wanted me to restructure. I know that they wanted to keep me, but they said I'd have to take a pay cut. I understood that. But the 49ers, according to Armstead, offered him a 1-year, $6 million deal that could have been up to $8 million with incentives. And for everything Eric Armstead did for that organization for almost a decade, to be nominated to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year 4 times by that organization, he said he, quote, felt extremely disrespected. Good. I hope he's angry. I hope he's spitting nails mad. It'll benefit Jacksonville. By the way, Eric Armstead's worth a lot more than 1 year, $6 million. if you were going to offer him that, that's insulting. You might as well have just sent him on his way without even sending that offer. But in a way, I'm kind of happy the 49ers did, because now the Jaguars apparently have a mad Eric Armstead. An extremely disrespected Eric Armstead is how he put it, which I'm all for. Fine motivation. Doug Peterson said the collapse is going to motivate him. Eric Armstead said he felt extremely disrespected by the 49ers. Trevor Lawrence hasn't said anything publicly, but he's getting ripped by people on social media about being a bust. I hope they use all of that as fuel coming into the 2024 season. More on the Jaguars in the 9 o'clock hour, or 9 o'clock, used to my time, in the 7 o'clock hour. Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report will join me at that point. But we are inside of an hour until the Sweet 16. 4 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow. Rematch of the national championship game from a year ago. UConn, San Diego State's tonight. Alabama, North Carolina is tonight. Clemson, Arizona, and I believe the other one's Illinois and Iowa State. Let's preview the Sweet 16 with my buddy Mark Wise. You see him on ESPN. You get him right here on 1010XL. That is next on a Thursday night here in Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
Satisfy your need for speed this Sunday at Richmond.
Yes, sir. Let's get this party started.
Woohoo! Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Wow, look at that.
From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
There are trucks, and then there's the truck, the GMC Sierra. Frank Frangie here, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Nimnik Buick GMC has the largest inventory of GMC Sierras in the area. This month, save up to $10,000 off new GMC Sierra 1500s or enjoy rates as low as 2.9% financing. Head to Nimnik today. GMC, we are professional grade.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Divorce, menonly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to divorcemenonly.com. Divorcemenonly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Hey sports fans, this is Hayes Carlyon for QC Kinetics. This is the time of year to enjoy life. Stop letting that pain in your joints keep you from doing what you love to do this spring. Call QC Kinetics now, set up a free consultation. Call them at 904-274-5522. They've got 2 great locations, Mandarin and Ponte Vedra Beach. Go see them. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It's a fact. QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Pro athletes have been doing this for decades, but now this life-changing treatment is available for you. So you can walk and run and climb stairs and play golf and move again pain-free. 904-274-5522. That's QC Kinetics. Call them today.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 28, 1999, at the Players' Championship, David Duval wins by 2 strokes. Duval's father wins the Senior Tour the same day.
Get ready for an unforgettable musical journey with the incredible Claire Vandiver at Players Grill Mandarin. Influenced by indie rock to modern pop, Claire's unique sound is a breath of fresh air. Come listen to Claire Vandiver Friday, March 29th at 8 p.m. Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Ackerman Cancer Center now offers total body MRI, the latest industry-leading technology. Just one non-invasive scan provides a complete picture of your health to detect and monitor cancer with precision at AckermanCancerCenter.com.
Hey sports fans, this is Hayes Carlyon from MyBookie. If you're still in the hunt for a sports book to call home, bet the nonstop action of the madness with MyBookie. MyBookie is a one-stop shop for all your sports betting and casino needs, complete with a real-life Vegas experience right from the comfort of your phone. Take your viewing experience to the next level with real-time live betting that lets you stream and bet the games right from the MyBookie website. Sign up now and take advantage of a generous welcome bonus on your first deposit all the way up to $1,000. Put in $200, get $300 ready to play instantly using promo code 1010XL. And the fun doesn't stop there. You'll get up-to-the-minute odds, props, and this week's expert predictions to help you decide who to put your money on. The best part about MyBookie, you can bet on anything, anytime, from anywhere. Use promo code 1010XL to secure your welcome bonus today, only with MyBookie.
Bet on the ball game. Get your money down. Money lines, totals, and parlays. We're cashing tickets all around.
It's baseball betting season, and VSiN's MLB betting guide is a home run for bettors. Download your free special edition of the guide, featuring a betting preview of the Atlanta Braves and Tampa Bay Rays at 1010XL.com. That's 1010XL.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We have gone from 68 down to 16 in a very short amount of time. I don't know how your bracket looks, but mine got busted up pretty good. Although, as we welcome Mark Wise in from ESPN, Mark, I still have 12 of my 16, and I actually still have 7 of my Elite 8. I took it on the chops in round 1, but miraculously, I don't think 12 out of 16 is that bad right now.
No, I don't think so either. My bracket looks like one of my college English papers right now. It's got so many red marks on it. But I'm like you. Remember you asked me last week about this, and I said, I always look for 8 to 10, 8 to 1, 10 to 1 kind of shots in terms of my horse racing Kentucky background. But I thought it was going to be a lot of chalk. I think it's the first time that the number 1s and number 2s have all survived in, I don't know, the last 8 or 10 years or something. So I think it's going to be that way moving forward. Somebody asked me about my Final Four today, and I said, it's the 4 number 1s. I mean, how can you go against them at this point in time?
Couple of more from Mark Wise of ESPN talking Sweet 16 with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, you mentioned the 4 number 1s and the 4 number 2s. First time in a while that all 8 of those teams have gotten through opening weekend. They're all in the Sweet 16. I got to tell you, man, the number 1s have been dominating in their own way. Yeah. Florida fans think it's a badge of honor that they're the last back-to-back champion. Well, UConn's going to put a scare into them, are they not? UConn's playing ridiculous right now.
I couldn't agree more. I look at teams, and I want to know – one of the things I want to know as an old coach and now a broadcaster is how many different ways can you win a game? Can you win a game on your offense when you're having trouble getting stops? Can you win a game on your defense when your shots aren't falling? Can you win a tempo game in the 60s? Can you win a fast-paced game in the 90s? UConn, more than any other team remaining in the field, can answer all of those questions. I think they can win games in more different ways with more different players leading the way than any other team left standing.
As far as the other number 1s, Houston, to me, probably looks the most vulnerable. That's probably because A&M played out of their mind to get that game to overtime last night. Purdue has been dominating, and I thought North Carolina looked very good against Michigan State. What's your thought on the other three number ones outside of UConn?
Well, here's the thing. It's much like I mentioned, Alabama had a great draw last week. I think Houston's draw in their regional is okay for them. I don't think there's anybody who can match their physicality. Maybe NC State a little bit, but I'm not sure NC State can get past Marquette with Kolek back in the field. Purdue has, I think, the toughest two games to get through in terms of Gonzaga and then either Creighton or Tennessee. I think North Carolina will beat Alabama. I think it'll be 95-88 or something like that. The Clemson-Arizona game, I think, is fascinating. I think the combination of Shiflin and P.J. Hall has given everybody problems in the tournament. I know that people, and I don't see a lot of Arizona. I've seen them on late night a lot. I haven't seen them live. I know a lot of people think that Arizona has the size to compete with UConn. Here's my issue about Arizona every time I see them. They take plays off on the defensive end, and they kind of rely on their offense. And the offense is varied. It's balanced. It can be inside. It can be outside. But when you're built that way, like Alabama, like Florida has been, that you're asking for trouble. I think that's another good game in terms of Clemson, Arizona.
You mentioned Clemson. For those that did not watch a lot of Clemson, I'll raise my hand. Forgive me, I did not watch a lot of Clemson Tiger basketball. How did this happen? I remember they were one of the ones that got left at the altar last year, right? Their bubble burst, and they did not get in the tournament. And now all of a sudden they're in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2018.
Well, they're one of the older teams in terms of the combination of P.J. Hall and Shiflin that I mentioned. And then Joe Girard, I think, is in his 19th year of collegiate athletics as a guard who gives them experience there. They've got some three-point shooters that complement. They're a very difficult out because they play sort of, I want to say they play a yin and yang style, meaning they can run at times, they can slow it down at times. And Arizona just wants to go fast. They want to play fast, shoot fast. So that's a really interesting matchup. But that's how they did it. They added some pieces in the portal. They're older, smarter team. And Brad Brownell, who has kind of become the hot seat annual basis. I think that's going away. This dude can coach, man.
Final moments with Mark Wise of ESPN. All right, Mark, as we turn for home. All right, who are we talking about next week? The Final Four. You mentioned the 1 seeds. Is it that simple? Are you going all the number ones?
It's the KISS theory, man. Keep it simple, stupid. It's the 4 number ones for me. I just don't see any of them getting beat. I think that big sigh that you heard across the country was from not only the Purdue program, Matt Painter, the West Lafayette community, Purdue alumni. I think they'll play freer. I don't see anybody being able to match up with Zach Edey inside, and that seems a little silly to say that, but I really think right now, I think UConn and Purdue are on a collision course.
Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, odds are when you turn on one of the ESPN family of networks during college basketball, you're going to see Mark Wise on one of those channels. I know your season's not done yet. You got a couple of games coming up this week.
Not yet. I'm covering the CBI semifinals starting tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And then we have the finals on Wednesday at 5 o'clock before the NIT games come on the Deuce. So Roy Philpott and I, who we've worked together many times over the last 4 or 5 years, I'm a late fill-in for Joe Lunardi, and I'm looking at it as maybe it's the Lou Gehrig, Wally Pipp moment.
Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks. Mark, you are the man. I know you're busy, brother. Thank you for taking time out. Hopefully we can catch up next week and preview the Final Four.
That'd be great, man. Thanks.
There you go, Mark Wise of ESPN. Had the opportunity to catch up with him earlier this week. And, the Sweet 16 tips off in, less than 15 minutes, right? Less than 20 minutes. Again, 4 games tonight. 4 games tomorrow. One other quick college basketball note before we get back into the NFL in the 7 o'clock hour. So Riley Kugel of Florida announced yesterday he was going in the transfer portal. No real surprise there, obviously. He lost his spot in the starting lineup. Just didn't seem to be working out for him. Although to Riley Kugel's credit, even though he lost his spot in the starting lineup, he still played hard. He battled. He didn't complain, at least publicly. So he was a good teammate in that regard. He announces today the 4 teams he's looking at to transfer to. These 4 teams, the teams that he's looking at are Arizona, UConn, Kansas, and Houston. 3 of the number 1s that are still playing, and the other team is Kansas, are the 4 that Riley Kugel is looking at to transfer to. Here's a guy that could not get on the floor at Florida. And I had a couple of buddies text me earlier today saying, well, he can't play at Florida. What is Todd Golden doing? Well, who are you going to take him off the court for? Zion Pullen, Walter Clayton, Will Richard. Who is Riley Kugel better than? They had an embarrassment of riches in the backcourt. I think Will Richard's a better player. I think Zion Pullen's a better player. Walter Clayton's a better player. Nothing against Kugel, but they just didn't have room for him at times. I like Riley Kugel as a player. And obviously, a lot of people in the portal do as well because, again, he says his final 4, Arizona, UConn, Kansas, Houston. Pretty interesting, seeing as how he only entered the portal yesterday. Funny how that worked out. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll get back into the National Football League. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report will stop by to talk Jags, AFC South, and more. And we will talk a little Major League Baseball on opening day. Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic to talk Atlanta Braves, Tampa Bay Rays, Shohei Ohtani, and the big stories heading in to this opening day. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you at halftime on Hacker After Dark. We'll take you up till 8 o'clock tonight right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you want to know what it is?
1010XL.
At Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville, we have over 40 2024 all-electric Cadillac Lyrics in stock.
Take advantage today of 2 awesome incentives.
First, a $7,500 rebate applied to the purchase price directly at signing.
That's a $7,500 rebate with no need to wait for tax time.
And second, a $1,500 credit for a high-speed in-home charger.
Over $9,000 in savings.
Now's the time to drive away in luxury in a brand-new all-electric Cadillac Lyric.
Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, plus tax tag title $8.99 admin fee and resistol.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
When it's time for the March Mania brackets to bust wide open. As I was saying, it's mad. The Mania of March at BetUS.com is all about those buzzer beat bonus offers. And when the madness starts and Cinderella man steps onto the BetUS always has your back with back-to-back 125% sign-up bonuses on your first 3 deposits and even 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS.com Sportsbook and Casino, where the game... Join today. BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, where the game begins.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
Race into Gate for big offers. By big, we mean great deals on Red Bull and a chance to win tickets to the big race coming to Miami May 3rd through 5th. Buy 2 8.4-ounce cans of Red Bull, get one free. And if you're a MyGate Rewards member, you are automatically entered for a chance to win race tickets. Not a member? Download the Gate app and sign up today. See store for details. Go from good to Gate.
We don't have too many cold nights on the First Coast, but when the temperature drops, you want to hit the heat button and warm up. That's where Florida Home comes in. They're the AC experts in Jacksonville, and the importance of keeping your heating system in good working order is really important. If it stops working when it gets cooler, Florida Home will leap into action and provide you with the best solution. heater and heat pump repair service, and new system installation. They do it all. Just call Florida Home AC at 777-4300, the official heating and AC partner of the Jaguars.
Attention veterans, if you have a VA loan, you need to listen to this, especially if your current rate is higher than 6.5%. Now is the time to take advantage of the federal government's VA Streamlined Refinance Program. With my friends at Loan Pronto, you can. Go to loanpronto.com. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto has fixed rate APRs in the 5s. You can drop your rate now. Lower your payment with no income documentation and no appraisal. Do it at loanpronto.com. Their all-digital platform makes it easy. They can even cover your closing costs. If you need cash now, Loan Pronto can get you up to 100% of your home value. You can pay off all your credit cards or other debt and save as much as $1,000 a month. Call Loan Pronto now at 904-999-1508 or get a 30-second rate quote at loanpronto.com. Ask about streamlined VA loans, no income doc, and no appraisal. Loan Pronto, 999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Pull. Put your team together for Operation New Uniform's Veterans Cup Clay Shoot on Friday, April 5th. This year's fundraiser will feature celebrity shooters, great food, prizes, and of course, bragging rights for the winners. Enjoy a day on the range and support Operation New Uniform's mission to empower transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses find their new uniform in the business world. Go to onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org today.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Frank Frangie here. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, and I love living here. But I also know how bad bugs are in Florida. So I trust Orange Environmental Services to handle all my pest control needs because they've got the best technicians and effective treatment. Their name may be orange, but they think green. Orange Environmental has been serving the First Coast for over 50 years, and they now offer complete lawn maintenance services. Call Orange Environmental Services for peace of mind from bug problems today. Call them at 272-3284. That's 272-3284.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
All right, the NCAA tournament about to start back up within the hour. 4 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow. My first round was awful. I was like 10-6 after round 1. And quite frankly, I stopped looking at my bracket. I thought I was cooked. I was done. A lot of matchsticks on the line in certain areas for the bracket for me. But come to find out, I have 12 of the 16 remaining, 7 of my Elite 8, and my entire Final 4. So tonight, I'm going straight chalk. Give me UConn over San Diego State. Give me Iowa State over Illinois. Give me Arizona over Clemson. And give me North Carolina over Alabama. I would love to see the Crimson Tide win, because as you guys know, in the SEC, it just means more. But I will take the Tar Heels, the Wildcats, the Cyclones, and the Huskies tonight. Straight chalk. All the top seeds, to me, all advance. And again, my Final 4 was UConn, North Carolina, Duke, and Purdue. So that dream is alive and well. Denmark, how many of the 16 you have left?
9.
Ooh.
And I got Bama going to the Final 4, so.
You got Bama winning tonight, huh?
I guess.
Well, obviously, if you haven't gone to the Final 4, they can't lose tonight. If they go to the Final 4 and lose tonight, something amazing happened. Interesting. All right. Well, Alabama and North Carolina to me is the headliner. Also, UConn, San Diego State is interesting just from the standpoint that that was the national championship game a year ago, and now you see a rematch of that in the Sweet 16 this evening. So we'll do more college basketball talk again tomorrow, 4 more games as we round out the Sweet 16 and get ready for the Elite 8. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday evening here in Jacksonville, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. The Jaguars made another signing today. Tight end from Green Bay comes in. Josiah, help me with the last name, Denmark. What do you got?
McGraw.
Yeah, there you go. 1-year deal, third-round pick in 2020. Second Packer they brought in, but they double-dipped, right? 2 Ravens, 2 Bills, 2 Packers. 6 of the 10 guys that were brought in were teammates last year. Obviously, Morse and Davis in Buffalo. You had Dumervay and Darby in Baltimore, and Darnell Savage along with Josiah, the tight end they brought in today. So 3 sets of teammates from a year ago all come to Jacksonville. The Jaguars have been one of the most active teams in the last couple of weeks in free agency. And let's talk about the Jaguars. Let's review free agency with Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. He does a great job not only covering the NFL, we'll also do a little draft talk with Ryan Fowler as well. Thursday night, Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us. We're with you till 8 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Your home for Florida Gators baseball is 1010XL.
It's Easter weekend on the Diamond in the Swamp. Florida, Mississippi State. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday at 1 on 1010 AM.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit Stonecore today and let's beautify your home together. Stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Staying active no matter what your age is key to living life at its fullest. And Rebound Rehabilitation wants you to know they can get you back up to speed and back in the game pain-free. Rebound Rehabilitation with 8 locations across the First Coast, top-of-the-line therapists ready to assist you. From neck and back pain, knee or foot pain, they can help. Excellent patient care combined with the highest quality in rehabilitation services. Look for a Rebound Rehab location near you and get back in the game. Log on, reboundrehab.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 28, 1999, at the Players' Championship, David Duval wins by 2 strokes. Duval's father wins the Senior Tour the same day.
Hey there, Jacksonville. With scorching temperatures just around the corner, it's crucial to ensure your AC is blowing nice and cool. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is here to keep you comfortable all summer long. But don't wait until the heat gets here. Our service techs are ready right now to handle any cooling issues you may have at your home or business. Call Duck Duck AC today at 904-862-6769 to schedule. That's 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Online at duckduckac.com.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll-and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
As someone
anyone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation and drainage too.
Spring is here, and along with it comes the best golfing days of the year. Come out to Hidden Hills and test out our Arnold Palmer signature masterpiece and enjoy the popular Hills Grill after your round. Book your tee time today, hiddenhillsgc.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The NFL meeting's going on down in Orlando. Doug Peterson met the media earlier this week, had some interesting comments to say about things that have transpired this offseason. A lot of goings and a lot of new arrivals for this Jaguar roster in what has been a very, very, again, active NFL offseason. With that, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Always appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Ryan, last time you and I talked, man, it was about a month ago, and at that point, we did not have a lot of answers to a lot of questions surrounding the Jaguars. We now do have a lot of those answers. Before we kind of go individually, just your thoughts in totality, Jaguar offseason in the last month. What have you made of it?
Yeah, I thought Trent Baalke's done a nice job, Ryan. Now I think everything comes with context. I think from a 10,000-foot view, you want to see these guys obviously on Sunday at 1 o'clock in week one lining up against whoever the Jacksonville Jaguars may play. And that's when it's really going to matter. But I think when you look at it from a spreadsheet and a depth chart perspective, I love the additions. And I think really it starts for me on the defensive side of the ball, because we've talked about it for so long as far as if they're at 17, do they want to take a guy like Byron Murphy from Texas, or is it a Johnny Newton from Illinois, or is it on day two, a guy like Braden Fisk from Florida State? And you bring in a guy in Eric Armstead from San Francisco to where you have a veteran group up front with Devon Hamilton and Roy Robertson-Harris that's been around for a little while. And I know there's been some changes as far as on offensive defensive side of the ball from a coaching perspective, but you get a guy that's just been around the league a bunch and has that versatility to play both one tech and three tech. So outside the shoulder of the center, outside shoulder of the guard is going to free things up for guys like Josh Allen, to where you're expecting him again to tease with 10, 11, 12, 13 or more sacks in 2024. And you drafted Trayvon Walker for a reason, and guys that you want to see more of. And you also drafted guys at the second level, right? Like Devin Lloyd. So I love the addition, first things first, of a guy like Eric Armstead. But I also really like the addition of Darnell Savage in the safeties room. And now, for a lot of rumblings, obviously, that Darnell's going to play nickel this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I like that too, Ryan. And the reason why I say that is I think Antonio Johnson slipped a little for a lot of teams that I spoke to last April, as far as the kid from A&M that came in and had some pop for the Jaguars last year as a day 3 addition to do a lot of different things as a multi-phase contributor. But now you put Darnell at the nickel spot and you allow Antonio to feel comfortable playing that low hole, or if you have him play high next to Andre Sisco, you can do that if you have to. So I really like the additions on the defensive side of the ball, Ryan. First things first for Trent Baalke and what he did here over these last few weeks.
Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Ryan, Trent Baalke at his press conference about a month and a half ago prior to free agency said they wanted to get stronger, more physical on the line of scrimmage. And everybody was worried about Calvin Ridley, and we'll get to that in a moment. But when Baalke said that, it kind of got overlooked, but that's exactly what they did. You mentioned Eric Armstead, and then on the offensive side, Mitch Morse. Now, again, I don't know if Morse and Armstead are going to sell a lot of season tickets. I don't know if those are the most glamorous free agent acquisitions, but what they are, Ryan, former team captains, veterans that have played a lot of football for winning organizations, and I think both of those guys, Morse and Armstead, not only will be good on the field for the Jaguars, but in that locker room as well.
Absolutely. I think you look at the center position, and as important as it is, I mean, we've talked about Jason Kelce for such a long time in Philadelphia, and what he was able to do, that pivot spot and the leader within the middle that just stems everything from him. And Mitch Morse playing next to Brandon Sheriff, I mean, those are two guys you want flat out getting after people in the run game, and obviously dropping anchor in pass pro and keeping Trevor Lawrence upright, which is the main perspective. But Eric Armstead freeing up guys at the second level. They're going to fly around and make tackles. And Lloyd Olakun and Chad Muma, I love that addition, right? I think there's so much that goes beyond it as far as just what are you going to do when you're strapped up on Sunday. It's what you do in the locker room. How is Mitch Morse going to be able to mentor a guy like Luke Fortner that obviously Jacksonville tried it last year, kid out of Kentucky, and it just really didn't work out. So you make an immediate addition. He's still on the roster, not by any means just kicking him out of the door, but you get guys in the building that can mentor people and coach them up and also have that depth if you need it, because as we know, Ryan, injuries are part of football also.
Ryan, you alluded to it earlier. Some news was made with Doug Peterson down in Orlando with Darnell Savage. The thought was by many, all right, he's the safety in Green Bay. You go get him, and he's going to replace Rayshawn Jenkins. Well, that apparently is not the case, at least right now, as Darnell Savage, according to Doug Peterson, is going to be more of that nickel guy where Antonio Johnson is, at least right now, the replacement for Rayshawn Jenkins. Now, talking to people in Green Bay, Savage did some nickel up there in limited work. Obviously, it was mainly a safety. But what is your thought? I mean, when we refer to the Jaguar cornerbacks heading into the draft, are we assuming now it's Tyson Campbell, Ronald Darby, and Darnell Savage as their top 3 corners?
Yeah, I think you have to, and that's a spot for me if I'm heading into this draft where I'm at 17 or I'm on day 2. I got to get some players in the corners room. Now, I know Monteric Brown's still on the roster, as is guys like Daniel Thomas and Christian Braswell, Tavon Campbell, those types of guys. But you got to get some pop at the position because, as you mentioned, Ryan, Darnell, even back to his days in college at Maryland, to where they asked their safeties to play low, play high, play in the nickel, play on the outside at times, and offer some unique looks. That's years ago. And primarily Darnell lived high in that Green Bay defense. And I just don't feel comfortable if I'm Trent Baalke right now saying Ronald Darby and Tyson Campbell, you're my 1-2 on the perimeter, and I'm taking a safety, almost converting him down near the line of scrimmage where everything speeds up because you're losing your depth as far as how close you are to the line of scrimmage where things pick up. Now, I have no worries as far as Darnell Savage coming downhill making plays in the run game, but now that you have open air to both your left shoulder and right shoulder, and usually you're not lying 7-8 yards off, or at safety where you're 15 yards off, you're right in the hip pocket of a receiver in that contact window, and it's very different because now you're facing also, Ryan, these wide receiver ones that NFL teams want to get inside in these free releases and pre-snap motions, those cheetah motions that you're seeing from teams like Kansas City and San Francisco and Miami, and that's where Darnell Savage is going to be. So if there's one major spot right now, I look at this Jacksonville roster, and I need players, it's really in the corners room because I don't feel comfortable rolling out Darby and Tyson Campbell and Darnell Savage really as my top 3 corners in week 1.
What was your thought on Ronald Darby? Talking to people in Baltimore, he was only there 1 year. They loved him, and that was one of the guys they wanted to bring back. It obviously didn't work out. He's got injury issues, and he's 30. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, but it appears, Ryan, maybe his best year as a pro was last year.
Yeah, I think Ronald Darby, I think he's just one of those guys that you have in the locker room that you play, 65% of the snaps at nickel. And the reason why I say that is because I love his short area quickness. I love his ability to disrupt timing, but I don't want him on the outside covering guys that we're going to see in the AFC South, like a Nico Collins. Or you see, obviously, what Tennessee's done with Hopkins and Burks and now, obviously, Calvin Ridley in the building. I just don't expect Ronald Darby to be that guy that I can say, I want you to play off of Tyson Campbell. I don't want Tyson to have to roam and shadow wide receiver ones consistently in this league. I would like Ronald Darby in the slot. That's where I thought he was best. That's where I thought he was best in Denver and his prior years as well, even when he was in Washington. So I think the addition's a good veteran addition for depth in the room, but relying on him to be a CB2 playing 90% or more of the snaps every week, I want to see more from Ronald Darby in that perspective. And I just, if I'm Trent Baalke, I'm trying to add another corner in the room that I could potentially bring in right away and start opposite of Tyson Campbell and have that versatility at the nickel spot, which you need.
A couple of more for Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Ryan, the Gabe Davis signing here, we like it locally. Nationally, it's getting a lot of venom. To me, it has Christian Kirk vibes from 2 years ago. Christian Kirk, nationally, people thought that was a joke. And now nobody's laughing. To me, I think Gabe Davis is going to have a similar effect. Look, he's 24, right? I mean, he's going to be 25 next month. The guy's got 27 career touchdowns. I know he only had 48 catches at a max in Buffalo, but I'm quite frankly shocked at the negativity, at least nationally, that signing here in Jacksonville has generated. What's your thought there?
Yeah, I still think people are thinking about Gabe Davis as that guy that was going to be almost that wide receiver 1B that we always expected him to be alongside Stephon Diggs, right, with Josh Allen slinging the ball up there in Buffalo. And now within Jacksonville, where you have a new atmosphere, he's still staying in the AFC, and you got a hell of a quarterback slinging you the ball in Trevor Lawrence, who I think still, in my opinion, is also an underrated quarterback as far as what you get from national attention, what he's able to do. I love Trevor Lawrence's game, and I think when you extrapolate that to the wide receivers that are now in the building, right, Zay Jones is still there. He's familiar with Trevor Lawrence, and that's fine. But Christian Kirk is also still there, and Evan Ingram had a heck of a year last year. So I think when you add a guy like Gabe Davis in the building, you mentioned how young he is, 6'2", over 220 pounds. He's a physical type of ball player that can win at all three levels. And then you also have guys in the backfield, too, to where defenses aren't just going to play teams like they similarly did with Buffalo, to where you play them in sub and you trust your front five at times to play that lone linebacker and get home and drop everybody else. You can't do that against Jacksonville because they could run it down your throat at any time in the book for me, especially adding a guy like Mitch Morse in the middle. So I like the Gabe Davis addition. I think he's somebody, again, as I mentioned, that's a physical presence on the outside. He's had success. We're not sitting here, Ryan, acting like this guy had 200 yards here and an 800-yard here there and just dropped off the face of the earth. The guy's had 7 touchdowns in each of the last 2 years in Buffalo besides Stephon Diggs. I like the addition. I'm right there with you. And it's just really that national narrative sometimes that comes along with players to where we expect him to be this somewhere else. He's not going to be this now in Jacksonville, but I expect Gabe Davis to play well.
Devin Duvernay was an all-pro in Baltimore. And look, there was times, I want to say in 2022, due to injuries, that Duvernay had to be wide receiver 1 in Baltimore for a couple of weeks. Now, look, I don't know how much they really count on Duvernay here in Jacksonville to do that, but I will say people forget Jamal Agnew was a defensive back that essentially transitioned to being a wide receiver and at times was an effective one here in Jacksonville. Duvernay's been a wideout his entire career. So to me, Ryan, and I'm curious your thoughts, you're getting maybe a younger version of Jamal Agnew with maybe more upside as a true wide receiver in Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was an all-pro as a teamer at 24 years old back in 2021. This is somebody that I think is an underrated addition when you look at this Jaguars free agency class, because at the end of the day, you need guys that can expand a playbook north, south, east, west. Now, he wasn't extremely involved in Baltimore last year from a receiver's perspective, but somebody that can be that further extension of the run game and, again, expand that playbook on offense. You want to put him in the backfield. You want to line him in line at times, do some unique things at the tight end position, which we saw sometimes in Baltimore in that Todd Monken system. And then you just want to throw him back on teams and have the ability to flip the field. Because really, look, Jacksonville also made an addition bringing in Joey Sly as a new kicker. Special teams was obviously a focus for this Jaguars brass this offseason. And Duvernay as a guy that can separate on the outside. And as you mentioned, he is a wide receiver. He flat out is a wide receiver, not just a guy that has some receiver pop at a main special teamer. He can line up on the outside and be that wide receiver too for me if you have to at times. So I really like the addition. It's awesome to get an all-pro like that in the building, in the locker room, and someone that can come in and have some snaps for you 70-80% of the time and create some pop for you on the perimeter with guys like Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and obviously Gabe Davis in the building. I love the addition as a versatile type of option for Jacksonville.
Final moments, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. All right, Ryan, the AFC South was crazy, right? It went from the most boring division in football arguably a year ago to maybe now one of the most exciting. Tennessee had $1 billion, and they spent it. Houston obviously upgraded with Danielle Hunter and Joe Mixon. Indy didn't do much outside the building, but they kept their own guys, which was important. I mean, what do you make of what happened in the division over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I thought Indy did a nice job bringing back, obviously, Grover Stewart and Kenny Moore. But I really, really do like the Danielle Hunter addition in Minnesota, not just because of the name, not because of the money. It's because of what they got up front. And they made additions even at the second level with Christian Harris and, of course, Henry To'oTo'o in the draft these last few years. But then you draft Will Anderson last year from Alabama, and you're not now teams coming to the front five and they're saying, who are we going to double? Well, we can't. Who are you going to have to bring a tight end on and chip them or keep a running back in to try to throw them off of their rush path? So Danielle Hunter now coming to the line of scrimmage with a guy like Will Anderson is tough if you're an offense and how you're going to game plan for those guys here, specifically in these next 2-3 years down there in Houston. But I think you look at Tennessee, and I think the big thing for me is, look, Will Levis is their guy as of right now. He hasn't worked under Brian Callahan at all. But from a Jaguars perspective and what you're going to expect from them in 2024 is they're going to sling that thing around. Now, Derrick Henry's not there, so obviously there's going to be a switch in offensive focus. They brought in Tony Pollard, parallel skill sets to that of Tajay Spears. But Calvin Ridley's now in the building, and you're not going to pay him damn near $100 million 4 years to sit around and get maybe 2 or 3 targets a game. They're going to pump him with targets. And Will Levis is a guy coming out of Kentucky, not a perfect guy for me. I had a second-round grade on him is where he ultimately went. But someone that sticks that back foot in the ground and lets that thing loose 35, 40 yards downfield and wants to make plays. So Tennessee, obviously paying a lot for Calvin Ridley is fine. The Tony Pollard addition doesn't move the needle for me a ton. But really the Danielle Hunter addition, Ryan, and Houston to pair with Will Anderson and that D'Amico Ryans defense was really the needle mover for me outside of Jacksonville in the AFC South.
Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Ryan, I know you're busy, man. We really appreciate it. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what you got coming out on Bleacher Report over the coming days and weeks.
Absolutely. A lot more draft stuff, draft content heading up here as we get closer and closer to Detroit. Also found my work on Twitter, _Ryan Fowler. If you don't follow me there already, we've got a lot of top 30 visits, separate workouts coming out seemingly day by day as these pro days start to conclude, Ryan.
He's one of our guys here on 1010XL, and we certainly appreciate his time. Ryan Fowler. Ryan, let's do it again, either right before the draft or right after, and we'll see where the Jaguars stand at that point.
Sounds great. Always appreciate you, Ryan.
Bringing sports talk to the First Coast. This is 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
We're in Florida, and pest problems are persistent. Want them gone? Mission accomplished with Mission Pest Solutions. Veteran and locally owned and operated, Mission Pest will blow your mind with their communication and response time for all your pest, termite, and mosquito needs. Text or call 904-944-PEST. You'll speak directly with the owners. Mention 1010XL when you call 944-PEST. You'll get 25% off your initial pest or termite protection service. Mission accomplished with Mission Pest Solutions.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, presented by FIS, opens this weekend at 121 Financial Ballpark. With games Friday through Sunday, come early tomorrow for the opening day street carnival and stick around for the post-game fireworks. Saturday, the first 2,000 fans get a free t-shirt courtesy of Atlantic Self-Storage and 121 Financial. Plus, more fireworks. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com. I'm Taylor Dahl on your Gator station. 1010XL is your pipeline to Gator Nation. Listen for the Gator Report all year round.
Brought to you by Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts. On the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go Gators! Wintertime at the Blue Crab Crab House. You know what that means. Time for oysters. Buy them by the tray, broiled, half shell with Romano cheese, wine topping, or fried. And of course, each and every Wednesday, $1 oysters at the Blue Crab Crab House. Serving Northeast Florida since 1996. Make reservations by calling 260-CRAB. Jacksonville's best, the Blue Crab Crab House, off of San Jose on Jewington Creek Road.
Bueller Air Conditioning presents Are You Cool?
Today's lucky contestant, a cheese negotiator from Jacksonville, Florida. Meet Margaret Drent.
How do you like my costume, Bob? I'm Gruyere.
Well, you smell great, Margaret. But here's your question. What's wrong with your air conditioner when you hear this sound?
Oh, that's a toughie. Are you sure you don't want me to tell you the suggested retail price of a box of Rice-A-Roni?
5 seconds, Margaret.
Is it a compressor motor starter failure?
That's right, Margaret. And if you call the coolness experts at Bueller Air Conditioning, we can fix that faulty AC to make sure that you are cool.
It's surprisingly stuffy inside a giant cheese.
You signed the waiver, Margaret.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Pull. Put your team together for Operation New Uniform's Veterans Cup Clay Shoot on Friday, April 5th. This year's fundraiser will feature celebrity shooters, great food, prizes, and of course, bragging rights for the winners. Enjoy a day on the range and support Operation New Uniform's mission to empower transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses find their new uniform in the business world. Go to onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org today.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
You could work for the Jaguars this season. They're hoping to fill over 1,000 part-time positions. Attend their job fair Wednesday afternoon at Everbank Stadium. Learn more at jaguars.com.
Builders Care is looking for volunteers, and there are so many ways you can help. Find out how at builderscare.org.
If you'd like to play in the Northeast Florida Cornhole Tournament at Wingate Park May 18th,
register at Tsunami10U at mail.com.
It benefits Tsunami Fast Pitch Softball.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
Hope Haven believes in children and youth with special needs and abilities and has developed programs to help ensure their success. Find out more about their employment services and internship program at hope-haven.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Opening day has arrived in Major League Baseball. The 162-game gauntlet begins for every Major League Baseball club. What was the biggest storylines of the last offseason, and What's the outlook for teams like the Atlanta Braves, the Tampa Bay Rays? Let's get into all of it with Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. He's certainly one of our guys when it comes to Major League Baseball, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Stephen, I trust your off-season went well, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Ryan. Great to talk to you again. I can't imagine there's really anything to talk about in baseball right now. The games haven't even started. What could there be to talk about?
How exciting is opening day for a guy like you that does this for a living?
I mean, I love it. I always have. Going back to childhood, it was so I was homeschooled until high school, and my twin brother and I would spend opening day going outside in Michigan, regardless of how cold it was, snowing for the Tigers opener or whatever, and we'd play catch and we'd listen to Dan Dickerson and Jim Price on the radio, and it was such a holiday for us, and it remains so. And my job today is following baseball year round, 365, but it's fun to have the game start, so you can actually start to read into stats and standings and track which teams are hot and which teams have chemistry problems and all that, because at this point in the baseball season, there typically isn't a whole lot going on, except this year we do have Shohei Ohtani entangled in a gambling scandal that may or may not involve him, and all sorts of other stuff going on. So it's been a pretty wild spring.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, during the summers, I went down to stay with Pops, my grandfather, in Lake Wales, Florida, and every day, 2:20, Harry Carey on WGN, we would watch Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg and Mark Grace and the Chicago Cubs, and that branched into TBS in the evenings with the Atlanta Braves. So I was a huge baseball kid growing up here in the state of Florida. All right, Stephen, you and I talked around the World Series last year, and certainly a ton has transpired since then. For people that were all into football and basketball that are just now getting back into baseball with opening day being here, give us the biggest 2 or 3 storylines of the past couple of months.
The biggest story start to finish was Shohei Ohtani. It started with before the offseason even began. Of course, he injured his throwing elbow in August. He had surgery in September. It was a second Tommy John, or a type of that surgery. And so he's not going to pitch this season, but he was hitting free agency, and that was expected to be a record contract. And it was, in fact, a record contract. He signed in December with the Los Angeles Dodgers for 10 years and $700 million. However, it's a strange contract. Beyond the fact it's a record sum, it is a heavily deferred contract where he is going to be getting only $2 million, air quotes, $2 million per year for those 10 years, and the rest of it is deferred into the 2030s. Which made it so that the Dodgers were free to spend a lot more money if they wanted to, while staying within the reasonable thresholds of the competitive balance tax. And so they kept spending. They went and got the Tampa Bay Rays best pitcher, Tyler Glasnow, and they extended him to a big contract to keep a SoCal kid home. They signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the best international free agent this offseason, coming over from Japan. Yamamoto got rocked in his first start last week in South Korea, but is supposed to be a top 10 starting pitcher in the majors, and the Dodgers added elsewhere. So they really commanded the offseason. Other than that, we should get to what happened recently, which is that Ohtani's interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, it came out recently that he had up to $4.5 million of gambling debt, having bet through an illegal bookie in California. This all came to light because that illegal bookie is now under federal investigation, and it became known, and ESPN and the LA Times wrote about this, that Shohei Ohtani's name itself was in bank receipts to an associate of this bookie, and so that raised all sorts of alarms and questions. And the short version of this is, the first version of the story was that Ohtani was just an incredibly good friend who offered to pay off his friend's gambling debts, and then the most recent story is that all of that was retracted, and it was instead theft, and he had no knowledge of this at all. And we can look at this a lot of different ways, but certainly the latest story is that the interpreter, stole $4.5 million from him. So that's what's going to keep Ohtani under MLB investigation for a while. They try to sort out what happened here, and the feds do as well. But for now, he is eligible to play, and so he will be batting third in the Dodgers lineup moving forward.
Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. Quickly, because I want to get to the Braves and the Rays and some actual on-the-field stuff. How sketchy is this going to get for Ohtani? I mean, the guy is arguably the face of Major League Baseball. You mentioned that contract that he signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Major League Baseball cannot like this, right? To kick off a year to have your star player under this sort of investigation. What's in your opinion, what's going to be the fallout here?
Yeah, I mean, the league certainly doesn't like this, and they dragged their feet on opening investigation, despite the fact all these details had spilled out and federal offices were involved. I don't know which way this goes. I mean, if the truth is that he paid off a bookie for his friend's sake, you have to think if they're able to prove that and prove that Ohtani himself never bet, he never bet on baseball, none of this, then a fine certainly could be coming his way. But it would be more up to non-baseball entities about whether they're going to press any charges related to any of that. So they're not going to suspend him based on this information that's out there so far. I don't think you need to worry about that at this point, but there are a lot of questions left to be answered, and to see whether he can actually prove this most recent claim, which is that he had no knowledge of any of this, and that in fact it was only after it all became public that he realized he'd been swindled for $4.5 million.
Wow, crazy story to kick off the year. Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. All right, let's get into some on-the-field products. So let's start with the Atlanta Braves. We obviously have a very large Brave fan contingent here in Northeast Florida. Stephen, a lot of expectations again for the Braves, right? Obviously a great regular season last year. Did not work out at all for them in the postseason. What's your outlook for the Braves in 2024?
The Braves should be fantastic, as they have been recently, and they should remain for quite some time here. We just published our initial week one power rankings, which we do every week throughout the baseball season, and a lot of people thought that, based on the $1.2 billion the Dodgers spent, they would rocket themselves to first place. No, man, I've got the Braves still as the team to beat in the National League. They are, I think, a lock for 100 wins. I don't think they are going to get chased by anybody but the Phillies in that division. And the Braves are as sustainable as any team out there based on these long-term contracts they've had. Things change if Ronnie Acuna isn't healthy throughout the season, but so far he is saying and shown that his knee is going to be okay. And with the rest of the lineup you have there, paired with a rotation that certainly has probably more proven experience than any other rotation in baseball, with Strider and then the old men alongside him with Morton, Fried, Chris Sale coming in. I think they're going to have an incredible team. It's all about health at this point, and they're going to be chased by the Phillies, which is honestly probably a good thing for a team like that, where if you are going to be coasting the whole season and don't really have a lot of competition in your division, probably hurts you in the long run. And I think the Phillies they're good enough and they're going to give chase, but I still don't think they're going to catch the Braves. I think the Braves are a pretty special team at a pretty special time, kind of reminiscent of the 90s.
Outside of the Phillies and the Braves, Stephen, what about the Nationals, the Mets, the Marlins? How do you see the NL East shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, the Marlins were a good story last year, but really didn't do anything to move the needle this offseason. I guess that you could look at their moves at the trade deadline last year and say, hey, they went and got Josh Bell, Jake Berger to add some power. Sure, but you also lost Jorge Soler, who's going to the Giants now, 30 homer guy. And the problem there is it's going to be a lineup I think still lacks punch. And in addition, you have a rotation that was their strength, to the point where everyone was just yelling at them to trade some of these starters for impact position players. And now you have Yuri Perez, the electric rookie, who is just a huge question mark for the season based on injury, and he didn't throw all that many innings last year either. Sandy Alcantara is out for the year. Jesus Luzardo is going to be leaned on as the ace. He can certainly do it, but is that going to be enough? Do they have enough in the rotation to backfill for whatever injuries come their way? AJ Puck is going to be trying to be a starter after being their closer last year. I see them backsliding a bit. I don't see them winding up on the fringe of the postseason as they did last year. The Nationals are still a couple years away. They have a bunch of prospects who are arriving at the majors, getting established. C.J. Abrams had a huge second half, like truly one of the most fascinating players in baseball. The second half of last season, 38 steals in the last 3 months of the season and 40 tries. He showed power. He showed better defense. So they have some of the pieces. They just need a lot more, and they're still sort of in that rebuild phase where you're bringing in veterans on 1-year deals and trying to flip them and hoping everything goes right. But Dylan Cruz, James Wood, some of these Robert Hassel, some of these prospects they have coming are going to really help accelerate that timeline and let us figure out what the Nats have. And the Mets, they're still a team that has a ton of talent. But right now, you look at their pitching staff and it feels nothing like it did a year ago when the worst thing happening to them was a couple of injuries to Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Today they don't have either of those guys, though they are still paying for a portion of their contract. But Kodai Senga, their tremendous rookie from last season, is injured, and so now you're leaning on guys like Luis Severino, who sort of pitched his way out of the Bronx, and just not a promising rotation there. So I don't really expect them to do a lot of damage, but they have spent like it. I think this is more of a next year they're going to try to push the pedal to the metal.
Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. Brave fans here will love to hear that. Quickly, Stephen, as we begin to wrap up, Tampa Bay, you mentioned Glasnow is gone. That's nothing new to the Rays, right? They lose a lot of really good players. In their farm system, they just bring guys up that then become star players in their own right. I think the problem this year, and tell me if I'm wrong, not only are they dealing with guys that left, they're dealing with a lot of guys that aren't there due to injury, which may catch up with them.
100%. I mean, you look at what they've dealt with on the starting rotation is unbelievable. What they did last season, at a time when Boz, Bradley, Glasnow was injured at times, McClanahan, Rasmussen, Springs, all having huge, long-term arm injuries. It's really hard to win that way. Only the Rays have managed to continue to do so. Now, you look at what they do have, and okay, they made a move at the trade deadline last year. I thought in the long run could look really smart to get Aaron Savali, who they can put alongside Zach Eflin in that rotation, and then they can figure out 3, 4, 5. Ryan Pepiot could be an absolute impact starting pitcher in the long run. That's why you trade Tyler Glasnow to go get him, to go get Johnny DeLuca. This lineup, if you showed it to like the average or slightly below average baseball fan who's not that plugged in, like there is maybe one player they recognize and look to as like a high quality player, but each one of these guys has a role. They may only play against lefties or play against righties, but they have speed or they have glove or they have some sneaky power, and they only need a couple of guys to really overachieve and play sort of ahead of their skis. And Yandy Diaz certainly did that last year. He was unbelievable. He's an MVP candidate for a while. Randy Arozarena I still think has a next level in the regular season that we've seen in the postseason and in these big moments. They've got all the tools. They're just in different. They come in different forms. It's not one or two players showing you the 5 tools. It's kind of up and down the lineup. They're piecing it together. So the Rays will be a factor. They play in a difficult division, but just that simply has not stopped them before.
How concerned should Yankee fans here locally be about Garrett Cole?
Yeah, very. I mean, very concerned. Anytime you have an ace with an arm injury, it's concerning. Now, the history here is what should give you some comfort, which is that Garrett Cole has not had any arm injuries. I covered him in Pittsburgh. This is a guy who's a picture of health. He's the model of when they look at how to get a guy to avoid Tommy John this day and age. And it's the repeatable delivery that doesn't put a lot of stress on the arm. That's the guy who uses his whole body, uses his lower half to propel himself forward. That is Garrett Cole. He is used as a picture of how you pitch today in a healthy way. And so even a guy like that can get hurt. And his explanation for it was they just ramped up too quickly this year. If truly that's enough and it's just inflammation, strain, whatever, and time off will help, that would be unbelievably good for the Yankees if he could be back for the second half. They have the talent to be a playoff team if he's there for the stretch run for the playoffs. But you really have no other option but to get Garrett Cole back. This is not a team that can roll, Stroman and Rodon and what's left of the rotation out there, because they did trade a lot of it for Juan Soto and expect to be winning the division. It's such a difficult world they live in, and Garrett Cole is just such an incredibly important piece to what they're doing.
Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic. Stephen, leave us with this. We won't hold you to it. We won't bug you too much. We'll probably have you on hopefully about once a month or so like last year. But World Series, when we're talking, in October, is it the Dodgers and the Orioles, I guess? The Dodgers and the Rangers? What's your thought? What's your early prediction?
I'm trying to. I do like a different prediction every show I go on, and so I think I've been steady on having the Braves as the winner, and I'll go with the Orioles. I'll go Braves Orioles. Corbin Burns pitches the Orioles to the to a pennant before he hits free agency. But I do think the Braves come out on top. Let's go with that.
Stephen, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about The Athletic and what you guys provide when it comes to Major League Baseball coverage.
You can find all my work at theathletic.com. There are always deals going if you're looking for a deal. We have Ken Rosenthal. We have Jason Stark. We have Andy McCullough. All sorts of talented writers on my staff and on our staff, and I'm there as well. If you could read some of my silly stuff, I'm on Twitter at Stephen J. Nesbitt.
Stephen, always appreciate it, man. We're off and running on opening day. Thank you, my friend. We'll do it again in about a month.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
And thank you to Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Stephen will be one of our guys during the Major League Baseball season. We'll hopefully catch up with him once every couple of weeks. Certainly enjoyed talking the season preview tonight. Opening day in Major League Baseball, the 162-game gauntlet begins. Certainly a lot of high expectations for the Atlanta Braves, a lot of high expectations for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tampa Bay, look, I mean, they lost a lot this offseason, but they always lose a lot this offseason. The one thing that's different maybe this year, though, not only did they lose some guys, but they still haven't recovered from a lot of the injuries from last year, particularly with their pitching rotation. So can you lose guys and have injured guys and still compete in the American League East? That is a question Tampa Bay will have to answer with Kevin Cash. He's an unbelievable manager. There's no doubt about that, but we'll see what Tampa does, and that division's going to be brutal. I mean, Baltimore is expected to be really good. New York thinks they're going to be good, although we'll have to see what happens with Garrett Cole. Toronto is never easy. Ironically, maybe the easiest team in that division is Boston. They're still kind of in a rebuild right now up there at Fenway Park with the Red Sox. As far as the NL East, obviously it's the Braves, it looks like. Their biggest competitor likely to be the Phillies, I guess. The Mets will be in the mix, and then we'll see what happens with the Miami Marlins. The Washington Nationals seem also to be in sort of a rebuild, but it'll be fun to follow. There's no question about it. As opening day today, I hope all you baseball fans enjoyed that conversation. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys for hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We got a ton of people to thank. Again, Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic, talking Major League Baseball. Thank you to Mark Wise of ESPN for previewing the Sweet 16 with us this week. Also want to certainly thank Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Always enjoy talking Jags and more with Ryan Fowler, and Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Certainly enjoy talking with Brian about the Jaguar free agency, what has been done, moves that are still to come, as we are now well inside of a month until the NFL draft. In fact, 28 days, right? 4 weeks from tonight, the NFL draft up there in Detroit, Michigan. We will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week here on Hacker After Dark, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green, and again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolute